Tzvi Lebetkin, the evil rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. This is the final day that this series is going to be premiering on this channel, my alternative channel, which I've been using because my main channel's booted me off. Like YouTube has got a community strike for hate speech, which is really quite bizarre, but never mind. But whenever things happen, I try and look at these things in a from a spiritual, from a theological point of view, right? And like, what's God doing? Well, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at the time you're in. You got to look at the circumstance. So we're in this time right now called Sfirat HaOmer, which is why I'm doing this series. It's a 49-day period, 50-day really, 50-day period of incredible spiritual growth. There's a potential for spiritual growth if you put that effort in, right? You have actually incredible potential for a lot of things. It's a very miraculous time of year, these 50 days. That's why I'm doing this series now. But why was I hit with this community strike? So my computer died the week before. It was really been a rough couple of weeks. But like, why would the good Lord be doing it? I think it's a way of helping me utilize this time, right? If I can have things that are genuinely hard, genuinely hard to bear, they're honest hardships, right? And I still love God through it, then I think my love of God becomes more profound. So I think that's really that's kind of where I am now, right? I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I kind of had a bit of a revelation last night about what to use this period for. I always kind of like go into it and start doing something and trying to work out what God wants out of me. As I go along, I make it up as I go along. That's kind of my attitude. But so I had this thought last night. That I've had genuine mental illness in my life, which is not a good way of starting a talk about stuff you can't see, hear, or see, hear, or touch. Right? It's like totally intangible. Not a good way to start by saying that you've had struggle with mental illness. And although I didn't know, right? It was the Ricky Gervais line that really opened my eyes. It said the thing about mental illness is you think you're being normal. Right, and I now see that I wasn't. Right, it was such a bizarre thing. I developed this real anger and animosity to everybody around me. Right, and I thought I was being normal, and I wasn't. Right, so it was being able to ask myself the question: are things the way I perceive them to be? Are things the way I think they are? Right, and just by asking that question, it caused this thing to lose its control over me, right? So, and it kind of like, I saw it out of the corner of my eye. This is the weirdest thing, right? When I was having these thoughts, I saw it like out the corner of something out the corner of my eye. And so I looked at it, and there was a shadow there for like a second, like an after image, like half, and then it imploded in itself. Because it knew asking that question would release its hold on me. But here's the weird thing. If you've seen the TV show Legion, it's a lot like that. It's still there inside me, right? And it's big. This anger, this thing walking around inside me, this indignant rage, it's still there. Which, and it's big. It's a big thing. So here's what I want to do, right? I would like to use this, the power of this period right now to melt that away to nothing, right? I think if I can melt that away to nothing, that'll be great. If I can melt away the things that fuel that anger are real and are things that I think are one can experience anger from, but it is such a destructive emotion. It like upended mine and my entire family's life. It was not good. I do not think that was the will of God, which is my default question for everything. Is this the will of God? Now looking back at it, but I think if I can melt this away, this giant within myself away, during this period, maybe God can melt away the anger he no doubt feels for the way that we have abandoned, as a species, we have abandoned what he wanted for us, right? We have a few of us left, but it's kind of telling that Jews and Christians, all peoples of faith are all backed into the same corner, right? So that's my goal, right? That's my goal for this period, to really dissolve that within me, right? Dissolve that with me, and it seems impossible. It seems huge, but I don't think anything's impossible, especially with at this time of year, and hopefully, this is what they call an awakening from below, right? The awakening from below that I want to destroy. I want to get rid of this this justice within me, this scream for justice within me. If I can get rid of that, because you have a basic dichotomy: justice and mercy, right? Justice, mercy is a rejection of justice, right? So if I can do that, if I can have this awakening from below, maybe we'll get an awakening from above as well, right? Awakening from above, and God will forgive us everything, and we will enter into a messianic age, right? That's really what I would like to see happen, right? But if not for anything else, I just hope TV will get better. I hope they'll stop making the awful Star Trek and Doctor Who, right? That's really what I'm hoping, right? And I understand it's a bit of a strange thing to motivate you. Listen, baby, you use whatever you got. Use whatever you got. Fine. Like, share, subscribe, comment, Substack. All those things are great. Sign up my Substack. It's Fan-Dabby. Double dozy, not just single dozy, double dozy. So we're in this 49-day period, and I'm working from this book, the 6 constant mitzvahs, which are commandments that you do 24/7. It's part of your operating system. It's part of your outlook, and the way you strengthen them, the way you strengthen your observance of these commandments. Are by talking them out and by investigating. But this is the Jewish way anyway. Talking them out and investigating them and going over them and understanding them on a deeper level, right? So and all these commandments are based around having a relationship with God. So you have the first one in the series was faith in God, the first of the 10 commandments. I am God who took you out of the land of Egypt, right? There was I am God. That's the only bit you need to know, right? And so we spent a week talking about faith. I think it was good. It helped me, right? It sharpened my faith up a lot. So now we're on to commandment number 2, not believe in other gods, which is one that virtually everybody does, right? And we don't realize we do it, but virtually everybody does this. So let's talk about. We'll go into it. Don't believe in it because you think, wait a minute, I don't believe in other gods. Well, I'm a God-fearing person. You think so? Give it a minute. Let's see where they're going to go in today's lessons. Don't forget the purpose. Why all the warnings? Yeah, the much of the Bible, the Old Testament, is a polemic against idolatry. Idolatry today doesn't really have any power. It used to be, back in about a couple of thousand years ago, that you could worship an idol and you would get what you want. The most popular idol to worship was Baal. I think it's really weird. Baal is, you would worship it by taking a poop on it, right? And essentially it was a surrender of oneself to surrender of oneself to how to describe it? Oh, nature, right? Say nature is everything. That was a thing, but that was one of the most popular ones. There was also Molech, where you sacrifice your kids to. Again, it seems a bit weird. But it was quite popular. I mean, listen, look, kids are a handful. What can I tell you? But maybe not that much of a handful. Idolatry is a sin that perhaps is most frequently mentioned in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Absolutely true. Considering the prevalence of idolatry in ancient times, it seems warranted that it would appear frequently in the books of that era. But worship is no longer the in thing. Well, it does because it doesn't do anything. If in the old days the battle was fought between paganism and belief in God, then that struggle between belief in God and belief in pagan and belief in God. But now the struggle between a belief in God and a belief in nothing. Right? Nowadays we read the repeated warnings not to serve idols. We wonder how on earth they apply to us. I mean, the Torah is a timeless thing. The Bible is a timeless thing. Why would they put something that doesn't really have any relevance to us? The fact that we are no longer have temptation to serve stones, animals, or the sun or the moon does not mean that the warnings not to serve idols are obsolete. The principle of idolatry must exist in our time too. Otherwise, why would it be in this timeless document, the Bible, right? Our understanding of the commandment, you shall have no other gods, must answer that question, why all the warnings? Again, there's a lot of stuff talking about idolatry, warning against idolatry. Idol worship, not denial, is the headline. Oh, I'm intrigued. The first of the 6 constant commandments was a positive commandment of faith, which we identified as being a secure knowledge that God exists and that He created the world for a specific purpose. I love that they use gender, very very gender specific language on this, don't you? So you know that God exists and created the world for the specific purpose, namely to bring it to perfection, Messianic age. We're all into that, yay! And to manifest knowledge, and to manifest that knowledge in our behavior. The second of the 6 constant commandments is a losase, is a negative. You say don't do this, right? Number 1 was do this, have faith. Don't do that. Don't have faith in anything else. You should not serve any other gods in my presence. Is what it says in the Bible. Don't serve any other gods in front of my face. Well, if God is infinite and everywhere, then there's no place that isn't in front of His face. It's a bit of a freaky thought to get you to bed at night. We have a quote from the Rambam, who's a rabbi we've been referencing, teaching us that this commandment does not prescribe the manufacture of idols. Yeah, you can go and you can be knocking out your idols all day, right? That's the thing. I'm not sure if it's still the case. It was a very popular profession in the 70s to be the manufacturers of Christian memorabilia, like crucifixes and things like that, was done by this Hasidic family, this ultra-Orthodox Hasidic family. It was the weirdest thing, right? It was a thing, but it was so funny. As we go, we will learn that it prohibits us from believing that believing in our hearts that other gods exist. Again, why would you think another god exists? That's how far removed we are from a idolatrous world. The idea of other gods just seems silly. We will learn that the third of the constant mitzvahs is God is one, right? How does the second commandment of don't have any other gods before Him, which prohibits the belief in other powers, differ from that God is one? That's a good question, right? I mean, they seem to be the same thing, right? Which prohibit. So this book, Sefer Chinuch, the book of teaching, alludes to the difference between the primary principle of belief that would be prescribed by. Alludes to the difference in his primary example of a belief that would be prescribed by don't believe in other gods. If a person, this is a quote, if a person accepts one of the creations upon himself as a god, even if he believes that God rules over that being and its power, he has transgressed the commandment of not having other gods. So let's say you believe in God. God is all powerful, right? Completely all powerful. And then you say, oh look, then now God, this is God's angel who also has power, right? This angel has also have power, and so but he works for God, right? So in the Jewish tradition, I have no idea what it's like in Christianity. In the Jewish tradition, this would be having other gods, assigning power to anything other than God, right? And once you have that key, it's mind-blowing, right? Once you live with that, there is no power in anything other than God, right? And anything that seems to have power is an illusion for us to see through. So believing in oneness of God is the only deity, and He sees no partners or competition. That might be considered to be equal. So don't have other gods before Him prohibits us from placing faith in God, in any of God's creation, even if we recognize that power they will are subservient to Him. Thus, a belief that we would acknowledge that God is the only one, even though He grants a degree of power to all His servants, would not be a violation of the commandment of God is one, but would be in violation of don't have other gods before him, right? So again, I've been really struggling. I got to do some more reading on the concept of the Trinity, because I don't think the concept of the Trinity is in conflict with these commandments. I mean, we're talking about the Catholic concept of the Trinity is in conflict because they're all God, right? They all say they're God, and they're unique and individual, but God is one at the same time, right? But they're all God. So it's my personal opinion is I don't think there's any conflict between the these two principles. But yeah, I want to see the sameness between us, right? I kind of like that better than anything else. So again, so if you say that this angel of God has power, you are not you have not transgressed the commandment of believing in the oneness of God, but you have transgressed the commandment of believing in other gods in front of God, right? So we got to look into this more deeply. Okay, so the book of teaching seems to consider the belief in subservient powers, the quintessential form, or a belief in subservient powers is the quintessential form of not having other gods, as evidenced by the citation of it as a primary example of the prohibition. Perhaps he based his opinion on Rambam and other great rabbis' description of how idol worship began. Oh, this is interesting, right? This is actually quite a good idea, quite a good way of explaining it. So, Rambam, was it Rabbi Moses ben Maimon from 15th, 16th century, around there, writes that in the days of Enoch, that would be the grandson of Adam and the great grandfather, I think, of Abraham. He was a grandson of Adam. Humanity. So we're talking like very proto history. By the way, have you ever seen the Noah movie? Biblically, it's not that awesome. It's not that great. There's one thing I love about it though, when they depict the Garden of Eden and you see the fruit and it's a heart beating, right? And it's so cool. It's worth seeing it just for that scene, or look it up on YouTube. So we're talking about early humans. Humanity had made a terrible mistake. They were so awed by the systems of the stars and the galaxies which God constructs, through which God constructs the world. They came to the conclusion that God wants us to praise, glorify, and honor these systems, just as the King of flesh and blood wants the subjects to honor his ministers. So yeah, it's saying, look, God did such an incredible job in creating reality, such a incredible bang up job on creating this incredible reality for us. Everything is so beautiful. We should worship them too. Just in the same way, you have a king who has his ministers. You got to give them respect. Same thing. Fine. So this is saying that was the origins of idolatry. In other words, for the original idol worshippers did not deny that God created the world and everything therein. On the contrary, they were sure that he was a creator. Rather, they made a mistake in thinking that God wanted them to honor the systems that which he accorded great glory. Their next step, writes the Rambam, was to build temples for the stars and begin sacrificing to them while singing the praises and bowing to them. And again, they did so with the wholehearted intention of serving God. Right? Isn't that weird? All forms of idolatry, which the Rambam brands as evil, stem from this error, not from the denial of God, that God had dominion and created the world and created the universe. Not from the denial that God, having created the world and the gods that people were serving. Perhaps this is why the book of teaching writes that the primary intention of not having other gods, this commandment, is to prohibit the denial of God's existence, but to prohibit. So it's not to do that. Instead, it's to prohibit serving idols even if we realize that they are subservient to him, right? So again, this all seems pretty esoteric. I'm going to hopefully tie it in with some practical examples before we leave off today, right? We've still got a couple of pages to go. Programming life is the headline. Although the original idol worshippers served the stars in order to fulfill God's will, the generations progressed, and the ulterior motives began to replace the altruistic ones. In those early years, with Adam and Rishon still alive to guide them, people knew how the various systems that God installed into nature operated. They were awestruck by the systems that they were and worshipped them, but they also sought to manipulate the systems and serve themselves. And they knew the secrets that enabled them to do so. So basically, they had knowledge that would pop the hood of reality, right? And let them get hardwire things, not hardwire, hot wire things to make it work. We assume that the idol worship was futile and the idolaters must have been backwards and foolish. While it is true that idols could not function exclusive of God, for they received their power from him. Unfortunately, idol worship worked, right? Again, that's a basic one. Let's say, you're a farmer, your crops are dying, and you don't have enough harvest. But if you bring an idol, if you worship an idol, you will have harvest. And so it's a choice of being impoverished or homeless or dying of starvation or serving an idol, right? So it's not black and white, right? It's not black and white. That's why people couldn't control the urge for idolatry, right? They overcame them every time, right? Because essentially you're circumventing God's will. God has a plan for you, right? God has a plan for you and he wants you to be great, right? That's what God wants. That's the purpose of life. That's the purpose of existence, for you to be great. And by you circumventing God's plan for you, you are destroying the purpose of the world. So that's essentially what's going on with idolatry. But it worked. Idols were able to accomplish things that people wanted them to accomplish. King Solomon wrote, God has made the one as well as the other. God created the world with forces of good and parallel forces of evil. There are holy ways to cause miracles, and there are equally powerful forces of evil that can cause miracles. Those familiar with the secrets of black magic were able to program the world to behave in a manner to their choice. When, by the way, I was in synagogue on the Sabbath on Saturday, and a friend of mine's son, who's like old, is like his 30s, come in. He's got no hair whatsoever, and listen, his keeper, he has one of these knitted ones, and it's staying on his head, and I don't know how. Right? How is it staying on his head? So I posited the idea. I think this is dark magic, right? I think, and he said no, it's just tape. But we have no dark magic left in the world. I was going to say, unfortunately, when idol worship became popular, people attached the secrets of black magic to their idols and programmed them to bring rain, to make the sun shine, and to make things grow. They use idols to gain success. And people like success. They really do. Look, your YouTube channel's got a copyright strike or a community strike. You sacrifice to an idol, it goes away, baby. It goes away. The secret that fueled idolatry transmitted from one generation to the next until Abraham began to preach against it. Terach, that was Abraham's father, had an idol store. Yeah, he was actually an idol maker, right? Although the reason that Abraham was this iconoclastic guy, where did he get it from? Where did he get this incredible idea that you need to serve God, right? Like you need to serve something bigger than you, because he saw that Terach, his father, gave honor to his grandfather, his father, right? And from that he extrapolated everything, which is really kind of incredible. A well-known midrash. It's like Apocrypha, right? Relates when Abraham was a small child. Terach asked him to mind the store for a while. Yeah, can you mind the store for a while? That'd be great. And he said fine. So then he so Terach goes out, and Abraham gets a hammer and smashes up all the idols, right? And then puts the hammer in the hands of the one idol he didn't smash, right? So he comes back. Father comes back and said, What happened? What happened to the stock? What's going on? And he's like, no, what happened was this big idol got up and he smashed all the other idols. So this one said, he's like, that'd be ridiculous. Idols can't do that. They don't have power. And so Abraham said, so why are you worshipping them then? That seems like a bit of bit of an own goal, I would say. This is a great story to tell children, but one that is hard to understand. Terach was a rational individual. Why did he worship objects if he realized they were powerless? Why did he accept Abraham's argument? Abraham was not arguing that idolatry didn't work. It did work. And that is why people worship idols. Abraham was pointing out that idols cannot do anything on their own. They cannot make decisions. They cannot They cannot choose to cause the rain to come. Just as they cannot fight with other idols. A human can program them to provide rain by tapping into the secrets that God programmed into reality, right? And essentially, magic went out the world about 2,300 years ago when they got rid of idolatry as well. The two things were two sides of the same coin. A human can program to provide rain, tapping into secrets that God created and sustained, but without programming, they are powerless. A God should not need programming, argued Abraham. God should be the source of truth, not something that can be manipulated to provide success. Absolutely. So I mean, that's really their fundamental view of God. It's like it's not something that you're paying off, right? It's not an entity that says, I'm going to sacrifice you so you give me what I want. No. The point is we're supposed to trust in God like he's a father, right? Trust in God like his father. And when things happen that we don't like, rather than go, I've got to find a way of circumventing this, we got to go, thank you, God, for giving me this challenge, which is basically, again, my last couple of weeks. So who knows on Dare to Dream what's going to happen Saturday night when week 3 of this period starts. I'm hoping nothing, right? I'm hoping nothing. Who knows? Who knows? But essentially, so this is what we're going to talk about. We're talking about idolatry and how idolatry is real in this age, and how it is a little spoiler for what's coming. But assigning power to anything other than God, right? Seeing power, anything is idolatry. So if you say, if you look at money, you say, no, money's got power. No, it doesn't. God controls money. There is no power. There is no power out there other than God, right? Things may look like they're not God, but everything comes from God. And I think that's the fundamental cornerstone of this commandment, and why it's so important to have this as part of our worldview, to have a constant and joyous connection with God. So there you go. That was day 13. Join me tomorrow. I'm actually going to record it in advance because tomorrow's Sabbath. Join me tomorrow for day 14 as we wrap up this week. This week is the week of strength, right? Gevurah. That's the vibe for the week. Next week is beauty, and next week is the week that the Yom Ha'atzmaut happened, which is one of the greatest miracles that's happened probably in the last couple of thousand years, where essentially Jewish life returned to Israel. And all those prophecies came true, right? All those prophecies came true. The country blew. It turned to an arid desert and it bloomed and it welcomed us back. That's essentially what happened. So hopefully happy days are coming next week. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Wouldn't that be fan-dabby double dozy? My name is Tzvi Lebetkin, the rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe. And ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.